My Line, brought to you by America's Total Performance Cars for 66. Ford, Fairlane, Falcon, Mustang, and Thunderbird. And now let's all play What's My Line? And now, live from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the popular host of I've Got a Secret, Mr. Steve Allen.
Thank you, Johnny. And now I'd like to introduce, always, one of the first ladies of television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a lady who has been, for the past 4 years, a regular columnist for Carte Blanche, the beautiful wife of the gentleman on my right, Miss Jane Meadows.
And now it's a great pleasure for me to introduce a dear old friend who 13 years ago, with his lovely wife Phyllis, gave Steve and me our first wedding party. My favorite publisher, Mr. Bennett Cerf.
Great memory, Jack. But here's a man who's developed the technique of panel moderating to the 8th lively art. Well, the 80th lively art, anyhow. John?
Well, for all those who are in warmer climes, I think you'll be interested and perhaps happy to know, if you're not here, that when we came into the theater tonight, it was 19 degrees above zero and on the way down. This is probably good because I've been steamed up most of the week. Just in case any of you missed it, as you know, Bennett does a column for King's Features, and he hung on me the following joke, which I will read to you. Cannibal, am I late for dinner? Cook, I'm afraid you are. Everybody's eaten. I expect it to take me the better part of 70 years to live that down, and I hope I make them all. Miss Jane, it's nice to see you here, and Steve. Last time we tried this one, and Jane was up in the airplane and Steve was down. It was nice we made it all together tonight. Good to have you here, and we've got some most interesting people and most interesting occupations. As a matter of fact, to celebrate your appearance, get your masks out. We're going to do something different, and put your masks on. I know you thoroughly enjoy it. And when you get your masks on, you will have already realized that we're departing from the usual tonight, and we're going to have 2 mystery guests. And are the masks all in place?
Yes, sir.
Good. If they're all in place, let me ask our first mystery challenger to enter and sign in, please. All right. Panel, as you know, we use a different form of questioning on these occasions. It's one question at a time, in turn moving clockwise, and we will begin with Arlene Francis.
Has your name or picture been in the papers in the last week?
Yes.
Miss Meadows?
I couldn't hear that voice very well, but it sounds like a male. May I assume that that is coming from a male's throat, that voice?
Yep. Mr. Cerf?
Has your name and picture been on the front page of the newspapers?
Yes.
Yes?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Allen?
Am I correct in assuming you are not in show business?
No.
No, this requires a bit of explanation. Actually, Steve, I'm going to give you the no, but I will agree that in a way, or in some degree or part, our guest might have something to do with show business. Miss Francis?
Are you possibly A man who is better known for his performance in the sports world.
No. Nope, that's 2 down and 8 to go. Miss Meadows.
But you are in some form of the entertainment.
No, to be absolutely fair, what we have to admit is that our guest, in some small part of his activities, has an associationship with the entertainment field, but this is not the main area of activity.
I see. What put you on the front pages, then, does not have anything to do with show business, is that right?
Yes.
Would it have anything to do with the political area?
No.
We'll have to have a small conference here, if I may. Again, since we have to tread marginal areas here, I'm going to give the no and let it stand, but this does not in any way disassociate entirely the activities and the responsibilities of our guest with respect to the political field. Mr. Sir.
Did your activities make you unfortunate enough to have any relationship whatever with Mike Quill?
No.
Now, you said relationship with Mike Quill specifically, so we have to give you no. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Allen.
Had you anything, however, to do with the strike?
You mean the whole general area of the activity that was...
As wide an area as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Francis?
Yes, what?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. No, but was the answer yes, that in a way he did have something to do with the strike?
We will agree that our guest was involved in the whole broad picture of the strike and the resultant
nothing
activity.
to do with Mike Quill.
No, now there, Bennett, you know, as I said, we were talking about direct relationship. All right, Miss Francis?
On the front page and nothing to do with Mike Quill. That right away is overwhelming. Did you have anything to do with the traffic regulations?
Yes.
Henry Bonds?
Yeah.
The traffic commissioner of New York City, right. Traffic commissioner of New York City, Mr. Henry Barnes.
Congratulations, Mr. Bonds, for making Fifth Avenue and Madison Avenue work.
I think I echo a lot of people. Beg your pardon, Bennett?
How is the making Fifth Avenue and Madison Avenue one-way working? Are you pleased with the results?
Well, I'm very happy. I understand there are some people down to the lower end of Fifth Avenue that are a bit unhappy.
For the people out of New York, Fifth Avenue is now southbound one way, is it not? Madison Avenue is all northbound one way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I
Steve.
was wondering about the show business connection.
Actually, he does, the commissioner does a radio show every day, don't you?
No, I have a regular show every Tuesday with Carol Reed, and also an impromptu discussion with Jack Sterling every morning.
Every morning, 5 days, 6 days a week.
Well,
5 days a week.
5 to 6.
5 days a week.
Lately, it's been 7.
So it was hard to say no because you could have called my hand because he's on there
You
every
had
week.
nothing to do with Mike Quill?
Fortunately, you're right.
Mr. Commissioner, as one who has the joy of knowing you personally because you are a Toots Shor habitué, you do know the best story that came out of the strike, the Quill cocktail.
Well, I've heard several of them.
Well, this is the one you can tell everywhere. The Quill cocktail is Manhattan on the rocks.
I think the best one that has come out of the one-way affair that Mr. Cerf spoke of was the somewhat intoxicated man who they tell me yesterday morning made a left turn southbound into Madison, which is northbound. And they asked, the cop asked him where he thought he was going, and he said he didn't know, but he guessed he was late because everybody was coming back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner. Wonderful to have you. Since we're swapping jokes tonight, I meant to tell this to Bennett before the program, but we didn't have a chance to get together. I got a postcard that I guess was supposed to be a Christmas card from a wonderful character named Bob Hope. And all it said on it was, he was then in Saigon. It says, great trip, lots of fortune cookies, but they tick. We'll have another contestant for you in just a moment after this word. And now to meet a contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Louise David Son, right? All right. Is it Miss or Mrs. Davidson?
Mrs. Davidson.
Mrs. Davidson. And where are you from, ma'am?
Whittier, California.
Whittier, California.
Yes.
Nice to have you with us, Mrs.
Thank you.
Davidson. And I present the panel.
Hello.
And now, if you'll join me over here, please, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is.
Thank you.
All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Davidson is self-employed and deals in a product. And we'll begin things with Steve Allen.
Mrs. Davidson, I'm impressed by your physical grace, the way you carry yourself. Are such observations at all relevant?
Thank you. Don't stop.
But unfortunately, the answer is no.
No.
Not relevant. Miss Francis?
Is it a product that any of us on the panel might be interested in, Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Is it a product that one might hold in one's hand?
Yes.
Would it ever be on the person,
No.
apart
No.
from the hand?
No. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Meadows.
Now, Mrs. Davidson, the audience seems to be rather amused by this product.
I noticed that, too.
Yes. Is there anything amusing about the product?
No.
It's a very serious product.
Yes.
Now, wait a minute. Let me have a small conference.
He's reading John's palm. Ever notice the way he holds his hand up like...
Would you ask your question again?
This very serious product that you deal in, Mrs. Davidson, would it be used equally by men and women?
Yes.
Thank you. Is that all right,
No.
John?
Yeah, that's all right, except I must say this. I don't think very serious is necessarily.
It's sort of amusing and serious both, is it?
You could be amused if the relationship between you and the product came suddenly and you came from an environment in which this degree of change wasn't normal or usual. Then you might find a degree of amusement, but this is not to say you would have a big belly laugh or anything like that.
All right.
You
But it would
confused
be
me,
used.
too.
Would it be used equally by men and women?
Yes.
Would it be used in one place, let's say in the home, more than outside of the home?
No.
No, I don't think we could say the use would be, so much weighted on the side of the home. Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Davidson, has your product ever been, or is it now, alive?
I'm going home.
It's more fun for them than it is for us.
And when there's such good shaving lotion.
Now, I must say that Mrs. Davidson wants to be very fair, but I will take it in the weight of the question as you asked it. It would be misleading to give you anything but a negative
I wouldn't
answer.
have you mislead me for anything.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Allen.
Incidentally, Mrs. Davidson, that isn't shaving lotion. They just varnished his desk this afternoon. Does your product have any connection with the physical person, with diet or exercise or gymnastics or anything of that general sort?
No.
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Earlier on, we said it could be held in the hand. In order for it... Somebody out there wouldn't.
Either that or they are right now.
Is there anything uncomfortable about holding it in the hand?
No. 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Meadows.
Does this product, if it was never alive, would this product be metal or have any metal in it?
Partly.
Does it have any moving parts?
No.
See, this is the trouble. Here, I will, with Mrs. Davidson's permission, give you a qualified yes. We will, the product itself doesn't, but in its application, it would have to be related to. Moving parts.
But there is something to do with moving parts. Would this be a utilitarian object? But it's used outside of the home as well as in the home?
Yes.
Is it ever plugged in?
No.
No. 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf. Going to give you 1 more minute.
Mrs. Davidson, does the use of this product improve either the health or the looks or the availability of the person who uses the product?
No.
No. That's 8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Allen.
Has it anything to do with animals?
No.
9 down and 1 to go, Miss Francis.
Is there anything in any way harmful about this product?
No.
Nope. 10 down and no more to go. Mrs. Davidson designs doorknobs. And now you see why everybody laughs so when you hold it in their hand, but they don't want to.
Yeah.
This is really an interesting story. This started as a hobby. Mrs. Davidson started with a basic doorknob and then embellished it, and then it finally got to be a business. Novelties by Louise. And she makes them out. The issue of whether any part of it had ever been alive, Mrs. Davidson said, well, we do, we make some of them out of abalone shells, and abalones are alive at one time. But it would have misled you.
Abalone.
Abalone.
See, a doorknob doesn't have moving parts itself, but as John said, you
But
might
it does,
apply
yes.
it.
It would have an association or relationship to a moving part.
That's a
And
tough one.
That was a tough one. I think, actually, you didn't get anywhere near it, and I'm proud of all of you. Thank you very much. Nice to have you with us. We'll meet our second mystery guest in just a moment, but first, and now the second special feature of our program, the appearance of our second mystery challenger, for which the panel has to be blindfolded. Once again, blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes.
Yes,
Good.
indeed.
Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right, once again, panel, we return to the other form of questioning, one question at a time, in turn moving clockwise, and we will begin with Jane Meadows.
My goodness, that was a reception. I assume from that you are very, very well known to the public, and may I also assume that you are in the entertainment field? Was that a yes?
That was a yes, Mr. Cerf.
I'm going to go way out on a limb. Are you masculine?
Yes, I hope so.
That's a yes, Mr. Allen.
Do you often perform comedy?
Sometimes.
That was sometimes. Miss Francis?
Are you best known for your work in motion pictures?
Okay, I guess so.
That
Gotta
was-
get a new upper plate.
was, I guess so, just in case it needs translating. Miss Meadows?
Best known for motion picture work. Are you appearing in a motion picture at this present moment that might be seen in New York?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Cerf, we are assuming here that the question is asked in the context of the central part of Manhattan.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Cerf?
Are you, or have you recently been appearing in a nightclub show in New York?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Do you sing?
If you want to call it that.
That's if you want to call it that. Was that right? That's it. Yeah, Miss Francis?
I have a feeling that Bennett got it with the nightclub appearance. Has the nightclub appearance just been at the Latin Quarter?
It's like you didn't know, right?
Macaroni.
I don't know that.
How can you stump this panel?
Well, they're awful hard to stump.
Get into the doorknob business. That's all it takes.
Get into the doorknob business. They do their homework, you know, Mickey.
Yes,
That's
they do.
one trouble. It's
marvelous.
They do that homework and they look all to see everybody who's in town, and after a while they
Pretty
catch
hard
up
to
with you.
stump them. Mickey, I said yesterday, you look like Mickey Mantle. I saw a picture of him in the paper, and I said...
I look like Mickey Mantle?
Yes, you do.
Well, his muscles
From here
near
on.
the same size.
You have the same batting average.
Yes.
No, but
He's also written a very funny book, John.
He has, Mickey?
Mickey
I-
Rooney.
Mickey Rooney.
I didn't know that. I thought you were referring to Mickey Mantle.
No, now I'm with you.
I'm very proud of my book. It's called I.E. and published by Putnam.
Hello, Bennett.
Mr. Cerf.
Hello, Bennett.
And I have The Fugitive coming on tomorrow night, and then Friday night I'm on The Palace, and then the following Monday night I'm on the Lucille Ball Show, and I'm doing this, going back and do a movie, and so between that I'm just resting.
How do you find the time to go over and get your unemployment insurance?
Well, huh? What was that again?
No, I was going to say, because I'm one of these Sunday readers of the week's compendium, you know, for television.
Yes.
And I'm looking through it today, and Mickey again, and there's Mickey here on the Palace, and there's Mickey on the Lucy Ball Show. It looks like you were working every night this week.
Well, I've been working quite steadily, and I just finished a picture in the Philippines.
And you also have a school you've just opened in
That's right,
Los Angeles.
in Los Angeles, and I hope to have them all around the country.
It's a
Jane.
marvelous idea.
Yeah,
What kind of
schools.
school?
They're film and TV centers for talent, young, fresh talent to have
to teach.
a springboard.
Yes. But this is for performing, the performing arts,
Performing
the
arts,
technical
yes, all,
side of it.
right.
Oh, that sounds like I don't know, well, of course I know Bennett and Steve and, well, sure, Jane and Arlene do. So many young people come to me and say, well, you know, what can I do to get started? And you search your mind and say, well, there's Carnegie Tech, and then you say there's Carnegie Tech, and you don't know where to tell them.
You have to eliminate the fear of succeeding. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. Well, you've eliminated, and thanks very much
Thanks
for giving
so much
us
for
a
having me.
successful
Thanks,
show.
John.
It's good to have you with us. Well, considering the obstacle course we put in front of you tonight, panel, I've got to agree you did rather well, and we congratulate you. We'll all be back after this word. Well, I'm sorry to say that we've used all our time up. Jane and Steve, it's great to have you here. I'm glad both the airplanes got in this time. Hope you'll come back and see us again really soon. And since we haven't had a chance, really, to do it, Jane, Happy New Year, even. It's a bit late.
you, John.
Thank you.
Happy New
And
Year.
good night, Mr. Steve Allen.
Thank you, John. Good night, Arlene.
Good night, dear Steve. Good night, Jane. It was lovely to have you with us.
Thank you, Arlene. It was wonderful being here. And good night, Bennett. Even though you didn't publish Letter to a Conservative, you're still my favorite publisher.
I promise everything. I told Jane when she came out, she looked so young and beautiful. I thought she was Mia Farrow.
Oh!
Good night, John.
Can Sinatra be far behind?
I don't want to say a word. Bennett, I've been waiting to hear something about our new capitalist estate for you. We're going to have the velvet on your chair next week. But we congratulate you for your big business achievement and thank all of you for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line? Brought to you by Contact, the capsule with the tiny time pills for all day and all night relief from summer colds and hay fever miseries. And now let's all play What's My Line? And now let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
Thank you. And now a gentleman who is more often than not at my left, Mr. Martin Gable.
A woman whose column is read all over the United States, Miss Susie Knickerbocker.
And now the ubiquitous Bennett Cerf. He travels all over the world but gets back here every Sunday night.
Well, it's always my job to introduce the moderator, which reminds me of a story you may have heard about a little cannibal girl who was misfortunate enough to run into her mother when she was very hungry, and a moderator. And,
That's why they call them the dog days. Oh, man, that's one of the worst in all these years. Susie, it's nice to have you with us again.
Thank you, John.
Martin, as always, sir, nice to see you there. I think we can promise you an interesting half hour. We've got some very interesting occupations. We'll also have a famous mystery challenger for you and a little bit later on in the show. But right now, let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Claude Mullen. Right, sir? All right. Mr. Mullen, would you tell us where you're from, sir?
Frankfort, Indiana.
Frankfort, Indiana.
Yes, sir.
Nice to have you with us, and you have some friends from Indiana in the audience, too. Mr. Mullen, may I present our panel?
How do you do,
How do you do, Mr. Mullen?
Mullen?
And now, if you'll join me over here, sir, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mr. Mullen is self-employed and deals in a service. And I think we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Mullen, do you use your hands in your work?
Yes.
Do you handle something that I would recognize when you're working?
Yes.
If I were to guess the product that you work on, would I be able to perhaps know what your service is? Would it help me to know what the product is?
Yeah, it's a very broad question.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very broad question. I would say that if there was a clear identification of what it was that you used your hands on, it would tend to at least point you in the direction of identifying the service.
Is whatever you use your hands on alive?
Yes.
Is it an animal of some kind?
Just let me just clarify here that there is involved something that is alive. We don't say that there's necessarily direct application, but there is in the involvement of the service. I don't want you to think of placing the hands specifically.
But is whatever we're talking about, whatever the product is the product an animal of some kind?
Yes.
Is it a small animal rather than a large animal?
What would you call a small animal as against a large animal?
Anything smaller than me.
You just lost that one. That's 1 down and 9 to go.
I thought almost everything was smaller than I.
Mr. Gable.
Is the animal that you use your hands on, Mr. Mullen, could it be generally described as a farm animal?
Yes.
Yeah, to the degree that you would agree, you could find it on a farm, yeah.
Well, not following that, I'll skip it, John. Is it, do you get a product from this animal, that is to say, something from the animal which exists by itself then, independent of the animal?
Not in any relationship with respect to Mr. Mullen that would be germane or revealing in any degree whatsoever. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Susie. I missed Susie.
Since the product is bigger, the product of the service with which you deal is bigger than our lane.
Well, let me say here that you shouldn't dwell on product. The identification here was self-employed and dealing in a service, so that the word product has been applied here in a very general term.
Well, but we do know that he does something with an animal, right John?
Mm-hmm.
Then, would this animal that you deal with, do you touch him?
Yes.
Sometimes. Mm-hmm.
Do you touch him for a reason rather than just petting him or patting him? Do you have an express reason for touching him?
No, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Mullen, when you first came out, I thought you were third baseman on the Mets. But now I have a feeling that maybe you have something to do with horses. Have you?
Yes.
Were you involved in any way earlier in the season with any of the big horse races like the Derby or the Preakness?
No, sir.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you, however, associated in some way with a racetrack?
Yes.
Has it been established, John, that Mr. Mullen does occasionally come in contact with the animal?
Yes, but not in any necessary way to the performance of the service. He doesn't have to touch it as a necessary ingredient of the performance of the service.
Therefore, I can rule out that Mr. Mullen has anything to do with betting.
Yes, you can rule that out.
Can't I? Mm-hmm. Would one find Mr. Mullen at his job around the stables?
Well, I think we would agree that at some point or another, while Mr. Mullen is performing his service, it might be necessary for him to be in the general area of the stables. That would be right.
That's right.
Are you crazy about your work, Mr. Mullen? Do you have anything to do with the timing of a horse and how fast it runs, the clocking of a horse?
Now, are you speaking specifically of the clocking of a horse or having something to do with how fast a horse runs?
Now, I have to be honest, John. I'm only talking about the clocking of the horse.
That makes it 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Gable.
Well, have you something to do with how fast a horse runs, Mr. Mullen?
Well, yes.
Yes, I think so.
Nothing. The ones I've had anything to do with haven't gone very fast, Mr. Mullen. Do you assist in the development of race horses?
Yes.
Yeah, he does, but that is not...
Are you either a trainer of race horses or a member of the staff of a trainer of race horses?
No, because I think in that specific... No, we can't. We'd have to give a no to that. 6 down and 4 to go, Susie.
Do you have anything to do with the horse's health? The health of a horse?
He likes the horse to be healthy, but it hasn't necessarily to do with the horse's health. That's 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Mullen, when there is a race in progress. Are you visible to the people who are sitting in the grandstand watching the race?
Yes, sir.
Do you possibly have something to do with getting the horses started?
Yeah, I would say he's got something to do with getting a horse started.
I mean, are you the man possibly who works the gate? When
Works the gate, Bennett? Is that your question? That's 8 down and 2 to go. Miss Francis.
Well, I know you're not a stable boy, Mr. Mullen. Do you have anything, however, you asked me before, John, if I meant the clocking of a horse or something to do with the speed of the horse. Were you just saying that to put me off the scent?
Oh, I wouldn't ever do a thing like that.
Well, then, then do you have anything to do with walking the horse in any way after
He wouldn't
he's
think
raced?
of walking a horse. That's 9 down and 1 to go.
He's not a jockey.
Well, I'm going to flip the card over because what you're doing is sticking into only flat racing.
Oh, he's a jumper.
No. No, Mr. Mullen.
He's a trotter.
He's a harness racing driver. At the Audubon Raceway at Henderson, Kentucky.
I'll be going
And
there
I
next
see
week.
you're going to be going to Audubon next week. Wonderful. And 88 years old next September. And still big.
The oldest man in the United States with a driver's license.
As Mr. Mullen says, he's the oldest man in the United States with a driver's license.
You see, Arlene, I told you it was a healthy sport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mullen. And
Yes, sir.
good luck at Audubon Raceway. Nice to see you. We'll have another contestant for you in just a moment after this word. And now to meet our next contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Martha. Lou Barsky, right? Miss or Mrs. Lebowski? Mrs. Lebowski, where are you from?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yes.
Nice to have you with us. Mrs. Lebowski, may I present the panel? Now, will you join me over here? We'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. Yeah. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Lebowski is salaried. She deals in a service, but there is very intimately involved a product. And we'll begin the general questioning with Martin Gable.
Mrs. Luboski, is the product something more apt to be used by women than men?
Not necessarily.
No, I
Is
would
that
think
a qualified yes, John, or?
Yeah, I would say this, Martin. I think you should have a qualified yes. We will agree that it is used by both, and the exact numbers are unknown to us, so you go ahead.
Right. Could I personally use this product?
You could, but I doubt it.
Mm-hmm. You could, under the proper circumstances.
Right. Is it a product that I would be, if were I to use it, would I be more apt to use it at home than abroad?
No.
No, I would think not. One down and 9 to go, Susie.
Is it a product that could be held in the hands? Small enough to be held in the hands?
Yes.
A product that is a useful product?
Yes.
Is it a product that can be applied to the person?
No. 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mrs. Lebowski, is the product made in Indianapolis?
Very hard to tell. Very hard to tell. It could be, I guess, if you wanted to use the terms very generally, we could agree that it's possible that it was made in
Is this product alive by any chance?
Yes.
Is it a human being?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francie.
All right, this is a small animal.
Yes.
Has it 4 legs?
Yes.
Is it sometimes not desirable to have it in the house?
Yes.
Is it an animal that is sometimes used for experimentation?
Yes.
Is it in the rodent family?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Gable.
Does it have a sort of adjective before it? Is it a 2-word animal?
What kind of
No.
Guinea pig.
Nope. Nope. 5 down and 5 to go, Susie.
Is it the sort of animal that if I saw it, I'd know immediately what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Does it have a stripe down its back?
Why, you don't know what it is. I don't know.
He knows the zebra. Say that.
Those are zebras, right.
Tell a dog.
6 down and 4 to go. Dennis?
Mr. Lebowski, would this creature that you deal with be possibly a member of the insect or bug family?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
Does the animal have hair?
Yes.
Is it in the... does this animal have many different kinds of cousins and brothers and sisters? A different variety? Does this animal... Are there many varieties? Is it in the monkey family?
No.
No. I'm going to put all the cards over it. Unless you want to take
Are
a
we
shot.
very far away?
Is it a wild animal?
Well, I don't think it. It's the kind of... Actually, it's the kind of product that would drive you bats after a while.
Oh, that?
Bat is right. Actually, Mrs. Lebowski raises bats for research. She's in the Department of Physiology. Is that not right? Physiology at the University of Indiana Medical Center. And they're used for research in circulation, and circulatory research, I guess you'd
What
call it.
classification is a bat? It's not a rodent. What
Mammal.
What is it?
Mammal.
Mammal.
Mhm.
One of the few.
Mammal.
I'd like to speak to you about my circulation.
So the interesting thing about it, if I understand it correctly, is that their wings are, in effect, transparent, and you can see circulation patterns in the wings, and this is why they're so valuable for circulatory research. And Mrs. Lebowski's good husband is going to dental school, and she's helping the good cause by raising bats.
By going on a bat.
By going on a bat, which is the way to do
What's your
it.
batting average, Miss?
What's your batting average? Well, again, it's a tough month, August, but thanks very much for being nice enough to come to see us. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, this message. Special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which, as you know, the panel is always blindfolded. Are the blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes, John.
Sir.
Good. Will you enter a mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, a different form of questioning in this case, one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin things with Bennett Cerf.
Are you, roughly speaking, a member of the entertainment profession?
Yes?
Miss Francis?
Are you associated with the television industry?
Sometimes.
Mr. Gable?
Are you a female?
Yes.
Susie?
Are you primarily an actress?
No, sometimes.
But not primarily. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, then are you primarily a songbird?
I think so.
Miss Francis?
She thinks so.
Are you a popular singer, ballad singer?
No. Well,
I would say, since the question was phrased as it was, if with your permission, we'll say yes and no, so we don't mislead them.
Okay.
Gives no information
That's
either.
a certain help.
Do you appear principally in nightclubs?
no.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Susie.
Then you appear principally on the stage?
No.
Nope, that
No?
makes it 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
I think I have recognized that voice. Do you happen to have a father who's reasonably well known?
Yes.
Miss Francis?
Are you in a television series?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Gable.
Is your father a performer?
Yes.
Susie?
A performer. I think I'm going... Shall I just guess? Shall I go for broke?
Yeah. Sure.
Nancy Sinatra?
Sure. Yeah. He covers the whole gamut, the movies, and actually she's everything, but I guess what you're really most interested in is your records. You got the #1 hit, which is a rare thing for young
Thank
ladies.
you, John. That sort of did everything for me.
That helps a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, I never made it. Terrible thing. But that's a famous daughter of a famous father. That's a wonderful combination.
My father, by the way, told me to give Bennett a kiss for him.
Bennett? Oh, listen, I've known your dad for years. Is he not feeling well? It's a terrible thing to have happen to him. Well, when you see him, give him our regards and always carry our thanks for coming and spending some time on What's My Line. Nice to have you with us. Well, against heavy odds, you've done pretty well, panel. We'll give you some congratulations, and we'll have another contestant after this word. Our final contestant, will you enter and sign in, please? Charles Katie, right, sir? All right. Mr. Katie, can you tell us where you're from?
Newark, New York.
Newark, New York. All right, sir. Mr. Katie, may I present the panel? Now, will you join me over here, and we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, this is a kind of a cute one, actually. We don't have too much time, but it has a special character. Let's see what you can do with it. We will tell you that Mr. Katie is salaried and deals in a product, and we'll begin things with Arlene Francis.
Well, Mr. Katie, Mr. Daly says that this is kind of a cute one, and you certainly are. Is it a product that I might use?
Yes.
Is it an attractive product?
Yes.
Does it have anything to do with games?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Gable.
Has it anything to do with clothes, Mr. Katie?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Susie.
Does it have anything to do with cosmetics, Mr. Katie?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Sir.
Okay, does it have anything to do with food or drink? No.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
You do manage to do something about this product, though, and I might have it, right?
Yes.
If I did have it, would I have it in my home?
Yes.
Is it a product that would be out showing if I had guests?
Yes.
Is it a product that has any moving parts?
I wouldn't think so. 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Gable.
Is it in the broadest sense in the category of furniture?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Susie.
In the broadest sense, in the category of clothing.
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Sir.
Is it
8
used
down.
in any way for cleansing or beautifying?
No. It is. Yeah.
Last
Actually,
one.
I want to flip the card. This was kind of a trick we played on Arlene because Mr. Katie is president of Jackson and Perkins Company in Newark, New York. They're the world's largest rose growers, and they developed the Arlene Francis Rose in 1956. And thanks very much, Mr. Katie. Glad we made it tonight. May I say again, Susie and Martin, it was nice to have you both with us, and with apologies to everyone since I seem to have used up all the time, I will, with your permission, say goodnight for all of us, and thanks to all of you for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Cotter. This is Johnny Olson speaking. Tonight's program was pre-recorded. What's My Line was brought to you by New Denture Cream, the special denture toothpaste made with the cleaning power denture wearers need. Denture Cream. What's My Line? Brought to you by Phillips Milk of Magnesia, the gentle laxative for the whole family, regular or mint flavored. And now let's all play What's My Line? And now, live from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, that delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
Thank you. And now the distinguished producer, actor, and director, who will be opening tomorrow night in New York in a picture that he has produced and in which he plays the title part of El Greco, Mel Ferrer.
On my way here from Vienna on a plane, I picked up a magazine and read a very, very fascinating article, an interview with Mia Farrow, written by that society columnist you all read, Susie Knickerbocker.
And now a gentleman who has a smash album called Vovo Diodo, Tony Randall.
And here's John Daly.
Actually, nice to see you again with us. See you again with us. See you with us again. See you again with us, Susie. And Mr. Ferrer, may we say that it's a joy to have you here, sir, and I hope you have a good time for the next half hour.
Thank you, John.
Tony caught me kind of flat-footed because I got a card from Bennett, and I was trying to make it out. I had it translated during the week, but I've forgotten it. He said, it comes from Kyoto in Japan. He says, this place is I think he says cats in pajamas, but between the raw fish and the chopsticks, I'm rapidly starving to death. But he'll be back next week, thinner and with worse puns, I'm sure. And I hope he's had a great time out on the far shores in the Far East. We've got some very interesting occupations panel. We'll also have a famous mystery guest a little bit later in the program, but right now let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Jeanette Campbell, right, ma'am? That's what they call a boa, isn't it?
That's right.
Doesn't it tickle under here?
It does, yeah.
It does tickle under here. I rather think it would. I'm glad we men never took them up. Is it Miss or Mrs.?
Miss.
Miss Campbell. Where are you from?
London.
From London. Oh, nice to have you with us. Miss Campbell, may I present the panel?
How do you do?
And now will you join me over here, please, and we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Miss Campbell is salaried and deals in a service, and we will begin things with Tony Randall.
Do you work for a profit-making organization, Miss Campbell?
Yes.
There was something funny about that question, eh? Is yours a service that can be enjoyed by everyone on this panel?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You're a strikingly attractive young lady, if it's not forward of me to say so. Does your appearance have anything to do with your service?
No.
It enhances it, but then it would enhance it if she drove a streetcar,
Yes.
wouldn't that? One down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you work outside at all in your job, Miss Campbell?
No, I don't.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Ferrer.
Is your work done in direct contact with others?
Yes.
You mean actual physical contact, ma'am?
No, I don't
No,
say
just in
physical,
reasonable proximity.
In reasonable proximity.
Yeah.
But now that you've given me the cue, John, do you have a physical contact with your...
Thank you, Mel. That makes it 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Biggerbuck.
I think now.
Do people come to you for this service?
Yes, we do.
Do you wear something different than what you are wearing now when you perform this service?
Yes.
Could it be called a uniform?
No.
With your permission, because we have very wide terms of reference here, we use the word uniform as meaning
Or a
costume or
costume.
work clothes. What we will go is, if Miss Campbell is agreeable, we will agree that she does wear, in a sense, work clothes, yes.
Work clothes. Do you use your body in your job?
Or any parts appertaining thereto?
Arms, legs?
Yes.
Does it take special training? Or did I ask that? Does it take special training?
Yes, it does.
Your job.
A degree of training is required.
Can you be called in any wise a performer?
No.
No, I don't think we can call it performing. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Randall.
Do you talk to people in the performance of your duties?
Yes.
Is that one of your principal functions?
We'll have to have a small conference. Terribly sorry. The talking, Miss Campbell agrees, plays a significant part in the successful and efficient utilization of the service which she purveys.
I felt there was one more beat to that series. Yeah. Do you give people anything? Do you hand them something?
Don't hand them in. But I think here again, if Miss Campbell's willing to let me be generous, she does, in a sense, give something which is a necessary part of what she does.
Now, we established that you work indoors.
Yeah.
Is there any transportation involved in your service?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Is there any wining and dining done where you work?
Yes.
I'm going to pass it to Mel because he has such a good idea that I think he's got to be right.
Are you a bunny?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Miss Biggerbuck.
Well, bunnies wiggle, certainly.
It's you.
I know, I'm thinking.
Oh.
I've forgotten, did we establish that you touch people when you...
That has not been established. No.
Do you touch...
No physical contact.
That's right. It's been
It
established.
is not, then
yeah.
it has been established that she does not touch anyone.
That's right.
And we know that she talks to them.
Right.
After they visit you, if that is what they do they come away improved in some way?
You mean in a sense of well-being sometimes?
Yes. Do they feel better for having seen you?
Miss
Maybe.
Campbell did that very well. Sometimes, yes.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you make them happy and sometimes you don't.
That's right.
That's life, Susan.
You lose some, you win some. Well, could I go so far as to say, do you amuse them to the point of making them laugh at your antics?
No, I don't think there's much laughter around. That's 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Randall. Give you 1 more minute.
Yes, is the wining and dining established by Arlene Germain?
Well, I think it's French food, actually.
Yes.
No, it's germane only in the sense that it is, I think, one of the civilities which normally or could be normally expected to be associated in one degree or another with the service which is...
In other words, Miss
ancillary
Campbell's
thereto.
principal function is not concerned with food and or drink.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Ah. But the place you work in serves food and drink.
Yes.
Is it, am I right in assuming it is not a restaurant?
You're right.
Mm-hmm. What sort of place is served food? And it has nothing to do with transportation. Ah. Does it have anything to do with sports at all?
I don't think so. So we'll throw all the cards over. Anyone want to take a guess? We're coming out of London.
Not a London pub or anything like that.
Well, it is a pub, but the particular...
Fish and
Barmaid.
How about dealing blackjack in a gambling casino? Actually, Miss Campbell works in a pub in Ilford, right? Ilford?
Oh, yes.
No, called the top of the...
Room at the top.
The room at the top. The top of the room, or the room at the top. And we, on the issue of costume, what we were trying to say there is that Miss Campbell wears a skirt and blouse, black skirt and white blouse, I believe, is it not? So that this is required, and to that degree, work clothes. And this is the most painless way to lose at blackjack, and the most joyous way to win at blackjack that I've seen in a long time. Thank you very much. Nice to have you with us. We'll have another contestant for you in just a moment after this word. And now we meet our next contestant. Will you sign in after you have entered, please? Trevor Bettles, right, sir? All right. Mr. Bettles, where are you from?
Melbourne, Australia, and I'm working for Expo 67.
Oh, you gave away a lot of information. Very nice of you. Mr. Bettles, may I present the panel? And now will you join me over here, and we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we must tell you that Mr. Bettles is salaried and deals in a service, but at the same time, I might say there's a product, interesting product, involved in the service. And we'll begin things with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Bettles, if we found out what the product is, would that help us with your service?
Yes.
Well, is it a useful product?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr.
That
Ferrer.
doesn't help.
In your service, is it an occupational kind of, do you take care of something?
Yes.
You take care of animals?
Yes.
You take care of kangaroos?
Yes.
That's very good, Mel. Well, we threw all the cards over anyway in the last echo. But see, this is why I said to Mr. Bettles, you're giving a lot of information, because I was afraid if you got Australia and Expo 67 mixed up
We
together.
did.
You did.
Actually, Mr. Bettles is part of the Australian Pavilion, and they have 20 kangaroos and 10 wallabies, right?
That's right.
Which are what, kind of like baby kangaroos, almost.
Well,
the same kind of...
as a Sydney sider told me once that one plays football and one plays rugby, but I don't speak to Sydney siders very often, so I don't know. But actually, they are just like a small kangaroo, and they have sharper features and rounder ears.
One plays rugby and one plays soccer.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good deal. And you brought those... Did you come from Sydney with them?
No, we had another gentleman that brought them over,
Uh-huh.
and I came here, and he's gone back now, and I'm by myself.
And what you have to take care of their diet and
Yes.
exercise and
Keep them alive.
keep them alive. How do kangaroos? They're very clean and very, very hearty
Oh,
animals.
yes,
aren't they?
very clean and hardy. They're quite happy up there. And
They like the expo.
Oh, yes, I love it.
How do you like the expo?
I love it as well. We're having a very good time.
Yeah. I must say, I was up in Toronto last week and do some work with my friends up at the CBC, and I wanted to come over then. But what I was really struck with, everybody in Toronto talks about the Expo 67 in Montreal, and I've had some very good friends of mine, including one, Franklin Heller, who's the director of this program. He went up last week to see it, and he came back ecstatic. So we're a lot of us waiting to come up and see you.
It's wonderful.
Could I ride a kangaroo if I come up?
Oh, well, you might be able to ride Big Clancy. He's almost big enough to hold you.
Big Clancy's got a date. Thank you for coming down to see us, Mr. Bedell.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Good night. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, this message. Now, the special feature of our program, with which all of you are familiar, and of course it requires blindfolds on our panel. Are the blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. Will you enter Mystery Challenger and sign in, please? All right. You will remember, of course, panel, one question at a time, in turn moving clockwise, and we'll begin things with Susie Knickerbocker.
Are you in show business?
Yes.
Mr. Randall.
I had an unusual experience. I'm not used to sitting down at this end, and as our mystery guest walked on, I got a whiff of remarkable perfume. So I assume that you are a beautiful woman.
Yes.
Arlene.
Are you represented on Broadway now in a picture?
No.
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Ferrer.
Are you filming in New York, actually?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Knickerbocker.
Are you known primarily for being a motion picture actress?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Randall.
Your voice sounds extremely young. Do you have very short hair?
Yes.
Miss Francis.
Are you appearing at the present time in the Broadway Theater?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Ferrer.
Are you Twiggy?
What do you mean?
5 down and 5 to go, Susie.
Are you a singer?
Yes.
Mr. Randall.
A short-haired singer.
Is there more than one person there?
Yes.
Oh.
Miss Francis.
Well, is it the Supremes?
Diana Ross. Fine name,
love the
Diana.
short
Would you
hair, the
want me
one
to
with the
introduce
short
her? Will
hair.
you introduce her?
Here is Florence Ballard.
Florence Ballard.
And Mary Wilson.
And Mary Wilson and Diana Ross, the Supremes, described in Variety, which knows so much about show business, and I don't know too much about it, as the greatest industry to hit Detroit since Henry Ford's Model T, which is a wonderful message. The thing is, you got hung up, I guess, hanged up, or whatever the current phrase is, on the movies.
But it really did sound like only one person answering.
Yes,
for about
it did.
4.
Actually, Mary and Florence were going back and forth for a while.
I wasn't
Because
going to answer at all.
yeah,
He
Miss
said,
Evans.
answer.
I said, you got to answer.
That helped.
That voice helped a good deal,
And
because you could
Twiggy.
tell the difference.
You know, I'm smaller, you know.
Now, you're at Copacabana now,
Right.
here in
We
New
close
York.
Wednesday.
And where are you going then?
Well, our schedule goes to Washington, the Charm Hotel. From there to Coconut Grove in California. From there, Flamingo. And we're never going back home again.
You're never going back home again. Like I said, for Detroit. Well, you'll get back to Detroit
Yes,
before
no
too long.
problem.
Well, thanks for giving us
Thank
a
you.
Sunday night, because I know you have a long and tough schedule. Wonderful to see you out. Well, positively brilliant panel, so congratulations. We'll have another contestant after this word. And now, another contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Julie? And your last name is?
Never tell.
You never tell. Will you tell us, is it Miss or Mrs.?
Miss.
It's Miss Julie Nevertell, and I want to present our panel. Now, will you join me over here, and we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Miss Julie is salaried and deals in a service, and we'll begin things with Mel Ferrer.
This service, does that involve physical or bodily contact with others?
No.
One down and 9 to go, Miss Knickerbocker.
Do you perform your service for both sexes, men and women? Do they come to you for this service?
No.
She goes to them, Susie. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Randall.
I don't remember your establishing where Miss Julie comes from. If we knew, was that intentional?
No, it wasn't. Would you tell us where you come from?
New York.
New York. Sorry
No, I
about
know.
that. Yes, rather.
Is this service more physical than mental?
Yes.
So that you're not misled, Tony, I would say it has a good deal of both involved.
I see. And Mel established that you don't touch people.
That's right.
Yes. Do you work for a profit-making organization?
Yes.
Do you wear something other than a miniskirt when you perform your service?
Yes.
If we saw what you wore, would we have a fair idea of what you do?
Sometimes.
I would think, to put it properly, if you were to see Miss Julie now, properly accoutered for her labors, it would not signify anything to you. It might at a later date, but not now. 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Not now, but later.
Well, I'm only suggesting here is that it would not have the familiarity which would give it wide currency, in other words.
Is it something fairly new that Miss Julie does? Is that what you mean?
Well, in the context...
We
I
haven't had
don't...
much of what Miss Julie does.
Well, we're really going to the costume, which could become so familiar that at some later date we would answer that question, yes, but right now we cannot.
Okay. Is it a service that people are grateful for, Miss Julie?
Yes.
Does the service take place indoors?
No.
No?
That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Ferrer.
There's no physical or bodily contact. You go to both men and women. It's a physical effort on your part. It's performed outdoors. Is it a mass effort? In other words, do you work with a group of people?
You mean who are necessary to the performance of the labor and are employees of the same employer that she is? That would make it 5 down and 5 to go. Thank you very much. Now, that's Miss Knickerbocker.
She works alone.
Yes.
Does your
As an employee, yes.
As an employee. Does your service require
Ah,
special...
but that wasn't the question I asked. I asked if she participated. You said she went to men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And you rephrased the question. The question that I asked was, when she goes to them, does she go to a group or does she go to one at a time?
Well, I can't answer that yes or no. You'd like to phrase it,
Well,
does she go
to a group?
Sometimes. All right, you go on. You pick up from there.
We got to fight for every point, John.
Well, we just lost all the points. Time ran out.
I have an idea.
Yes.
Is she one of those girls at Yankee Stadium who...
No. She's employed by a new limousine service, the Bunny Limousine Service, and she wears a bunny uniform of black slacks, sweater, and high boots.
Only female chauffeur in New York.
With
I've heard about it.
And so, Susie, nice to, as said before, to have you back again. And Mel, very nice to have. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll come back
Did,
again.
John.
And good night, Miss Arlene.
Good night and good night, Mel. Good luck with the picture.
Thank you, Arlene. Susie, until soon.
Good night, Mel. And good night, Tony, darling.
Good night, Susie. Good night, John.
Good night, Tony. And Bennett, I think, Arlene, you may know, is in Bangkok tonight, but he'll be back during the week, all thinned out, and we'll see him next Sunday with us. And thanks to all of you for being with us on What's My Line.
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Codman. Miss Frances Gown from Bonwit Teller. This is Johnny Olson speaking. What's My Line? Brought to you by Jif, the peanut butter with great peanut smell, great peanut taste, great peanut quality. And now let's all play What's My Line? And now, live from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a gentleman who has a very splendid new book out called The Ground is Our Table. The host of I've Got a Secret, Mr. Steve Allen.
Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce one of the prettiest ladies in show business. She's going into rehearsal tomorrow morning for a new Broadway play titled A Warm Body. Lovely Dina Merrill.
And I'd like to introduce my favorite publisher, Bennett Cerf.
I've been introducing John Daly for 17 years now, but this is the first time I've ever introduced him with a quotation from scriptures. And this is the quotation. He multiplieth words, but he understandeth them not. John Charles Daly.
There's not much I can say when he uses the good book on me. I will keep a respectful silence. But I shall get even in one degree or another. May I say, Miss Dina, how nice it is to see you again. And
Thank you,
Steve,
John.
as I've said so many times, it's like old home week when you're back with us.
Thank you, John. It is for me.
And we're very pleased that you two should be here tonight, particularly because I think Arlene and Bennett are going to have some fun. You'll all be somewhat in the mood of thinking you're seeing double before we're done with you. That will all come clear later on. We've got some very interesting occupations. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the program. But right now, let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Joan and Jane Ryba, right? Ryba. Now you see what I meant, panel. Now, is it Miss in
Yes.
both cases?
Yes, it is.
Miss Joan and Miss Jane Reba.
That's right.
Correct? Fine. Where are you from?
North Hollywood, California.
North Hollywood, California. Terrible thing. I got this inner-ear trouble. I'm hearing things double. Well, may I present the Mrs. Reba to our panel? And now will you join me over here, please? And we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that the Mrs. Reba are salaried, that they deal in a product, and we'll begin things with Steve Allen.
Is it a product that a man might use?
Yes, it is.
You both deal in the same product, of course.
Yes. Right.
Is it also a product a woman could use?
Yes, she could.
Does it come in contact with the physical person when it is used?
Yes, it does.
Is it smaller than a bread box?
Sometimes.
Does it have any metal as one of its components?
Yes.
Any moving parts?
No.
One down and 9 to go. Miss Merrill?
Do you hold it in your hand when
Yes.
you use it? Does it sell for under $5?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
I was just thinking it's a lucky thing there aren't 2 John Daly's up there.
Well, this will be one of the few Sunday nights when I don't look like 2 to you. Now we're even. Pursue this matter.
Mrs. Reba, might this product be defined as something that is worn?
No.
No. 3 down and 7 to go. Arlene.
Does the product give pleasure?
Yes. Yes.
Is there anything entertaining about the product in its use?
Yes.
Let me, if I may, put a caveat down here. I will agree that it certainly could be considered in a tangential way to have an element of entertainment, but do not burden this area too much because it would lead you astray.
Thank you, John. Is the product used indoors?
It can be. Yes.
Can be used both places?
Right.
When it is in use, does it come in contact with the person using it?
Yes.
Is it used in any way as a sport or a game or an activity of some kind?
Yes.
Does it does it go from person to person when it is used?
No.
No, I don't
Use
think.
it all by yourself?
Right.
Yes. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Allen.
Can you bounce it?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Dina Merrill.
Is it used in a sport?
Well,
That's a very good question.
Yes,
It's a very good question. I will agree that it has an application of use in a sport since it can be and is sometimes identified with general sporting activity.
I've forgotten if I asked you or not, but can you hold it in your hand?
yes.
In other words, it is fairly small.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
sometimes, yes.
Is it made of plastic?
Partly.
Is it partly made of fabric of some kind?
No.
No fabric. Nice try, though. 6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Reba, can you stand on this product or get into it?
No.
Neither?
Neither. Neither either.
Neither.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
Can it be used on or near water?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Allen. This does not rule out the possibility that you could use it on or near water, but we presume the question was asked with a particular application to water.
Why
it
do you
has no
presume that?
application. Well, it helped things along. Steve?
When you're not using it and it's just hanging around, you know, waiting till a free weekend, is it more apt to be in one part of the house than another?
No, not necessarily.
No, not in one part. It could be kept in many parts of the house, depending solely on your discretion. 9 down and 1 to go, Dina.
Does it need to be plugged in?
No.
Doesn't need to be plugged in, no. It'd be very, very
Any
useful.
rubber in it? No.
Got any idea?
Any rubber in it?
No waste baskets, no. Actually, the Mrs. Jane and Jones sell barbells for weightlifting.
Forgive me, but where is the plastic in a barbell?
They coat the iron in this case. This is called the weight.
Yes, right. The actual weight is coated in plastic as well as the little clamp that holds the weight on.
I see.
It's called the weight line barbell sets. And you work in, actually, your home office where is
It's in Houston, but we work in Southern California.
They have the Southern California territory, which will explain why there are so many barbell enthusiasts in Southern California.
Sell them?
Yes, we sell them.
Mm-hmm. They work for Newman, Dukes, and Klein Incorporated. We'll get the address for you, Bennett, because I agree with you. You need them. Thank you very much, Mrs. Jane and Jones. Thanks a lot for coming to be with us. We'll have another contestant for you in just a moment after this word. And now to meet our next contestant. Will you sign in after you've entered, please?
Oh, no.
Preston and Russell Porter. Gentlemen, may I ask where you're from?
Originally Whittier, California.
Originally from Whittier, California. Well, nice to have you with us tonight, and may I present our panel to Messieurs Porter. Now, if you'll join me over here, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. Panel, we can tell you that both Russell and Preston Porter are salaried and deal in a service, and we'll begin things with Arlene Francis.
I feel like I'm taking a drunkometer test tonight. Is your service one that, do you work for a profit-making organization?
No.
Oh.
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you work then for city, state, or federal government?
Yes, we do.
Federal?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you connected with one of the armed services?
Yes.
I got a 33 and a third chance. Could it be the Marines?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Dina Merrill.
Well, I'll take another chance. How about the Navy?
Yes.
Oh. Are you land-based or sea-based? Oh, are you land-based, Navy?
Yes.
Do you have desk jobs?
Yes, so to speak.
Sometimes.
Yes.
But do you do a lot of work in the field?
Some. I think probably you'd do better to stick on the general land-based desk category, although we use those in very general terms.
Are you enlisted men?
No.
No.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Sir.
I detected, Mrs. Porter, one irreverent note out in that audience before when you came on. Is this work that you do sometimes disagreeable to some other people?
Well,
no.
Let me speak, if I may, to this point, because I believe historically it is accepted that there are those who, if exposed to the particular work which they carry out, would perhaps consider that it was unpleasant. But we would not say it is overall.
I'm being misled, as usual, by Mr. Daly, but I'll fall for it. Have you anything whatever to do with the military police?
No.
Thank you,
4
John.
down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you have anything to do with enlisting men in the Navy?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Steve Allen.
Anything to do with medicine?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Dina.
Anything to do with naval intelligence?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Sir.
Anything to do with enlistment or supplying of the supplies?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
Is any kind of detective work necessary in your job?
No. 9 down and 1 to go, Mr. Allen.
Anything to do with the waves?
Would you further define your question?
Make it easy on yourself, John. I don't care. No, I mean the ladies in uniform. Anything to do with them?
No. Nope. 10 down and no more to go. This is pretty tough, and we were sneaky on you tonight because actually Lieutenants Junior Grade Russell and Preston Porter both teach at the Naval Academy. They're presently teaching oceanography.
That's an outrageous thing of you to say that this is unpleasant to anybody. Everybody loves learning, John.
I was sure I read somewhere that somebody didn't. But the thing that interests me that you both went to Humboldt State in Eureka, California, Northern California.
Yes, well, that was one of the places.
But majored in fisheries and oceanography there.
Yes.
And then pro forma went into the military service, went to Newport to OCS.
Yes.
And then you wound up in Annapolis after, what, did you active duty at aboard ship anywhere?
Yes, we
were on ships before.
What kind of sea duty they give you?
A supply type ship, reefers.
Close in?
Together?
No, we were on the same type of ship in the same home port, but different ships.
They put you on different ships? We'll see that doesn't happen again. I just, I'd love the thought of one of those skippers that you read about, a Captain Queeg coming on deck one morning and seeing the two of them on the same ship, one on this wing and one on this, and then old Queeg would really go off the end of the bridge and things would have been much better all the way around for the Navy.
Do you both teach the same thing?
Yes, we do.
Together, I would guess.
I must say, and I'm sure you won't mind, as twins, I don't know as I've ever seen a likeness so perfect as you two have. It's really just great. You just look very much like one another. Well, as the oldest Lieutenant Junior Grade in-grade retired United States Naval Reserves, gentlemen, it's nice to have had you with us.
Thank you.
We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, this message. Now the special feature of the program, the appearance of our mystery challengers, for which, as you all know, the panel is blindfolded. Are those blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in this case, we go to a different form of questioning, one question at a time, in turn moving clockwise, and we'll begin things with Bennett Cerf.
Well, there seems to be a pattern on this show tonight. Are there more than one mystery guest?
Yes. Miss Francis.
Twins?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you work together?
Yes, we do.
Dina.
Are you related?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cerf.
Are you brothers?
Yes.
Miss Francis.
Well, it's the brothers Karamazov.
That's right.
Are you brothers that appear in television?
Occasionally.
Mr. Allen.
Are you by any chance from a field other than show business, primarily?
No, sir.
2 down and 8 to go, Dina.
Do you have a regular series on television?
No.
Yes and no. Mr.
Yes.
Cerf. Yes and no.
Do you ever get smothered by the fans around you? Are you the Smothers brothers?
Yes. Well, I must say, Dick and Tom are wonderful to come tonight. We had rather a feeling that with two sets of twins preceding them, you might get into, as Bennett did, or more than one of them. But it was worth the game, because if you hadn't, we'd have had a ball. We had a lot of fun anyway. And,
Why did you just come up with it right off the top of your head like that?
Right off
I
the top.
had a hunch.
Well, the nice
Such a
thing
famous brothers team. When Arlene said Brothers Karamazov, I started to say, you know, before you'd even answered anything, the Smothers Brothers.
As a matter of fact, John, when she said that, I thought she said, "Brother, tear your mask off," and I almost blew the game.
Well, I do not paint the lily in telling you that we're very tickled. Beginning next Sunday, both Tom and Dick, the Smothers Brothers, are going to be on from 9 to 10 on CBS. And it's nice to have such nice folks in front of us. And
We're planning on having we were on one other time, and we're trying to move rapidly along and keep moving so that when questions like, do you have a continuing series, we can always say, well, sometimes.
It's a little hard, Dina. We had to say yes and no because it begins next Sunday again. They've been on regularly before, but are not currently. Well, from all that's happened tonight, we're in good shape next Sunday with you in front of us.
Well, we certainly hope so. We didn't help any of the other shows before us that we're in front of.
But maybe we'll change things.
This is the first time that we've had the opportunity of being on this show, and we enjoy it very much. You are undoubtedly one of probably the smoothest talking people, and makes a difference.
All right, Tom, I quit. Thanks for coming. Well, you've done very well, panel, so far tonight, and we'll have another contestant after this word. And now for a final contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Ethel and Edna Armstrong, right? All righty. Is it in both case of Ethel and Edna Miss rather than Mrs.?
Yes,
The Mrs. Armstrong. Where are you from?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Fine. The Mrs. Armstrong. May I present the panel? And now, if you'll join me over here, we'll let the audience at home and the audience here in the theater know exactly what your line is. Panel, we can tell you that the Mrs. Armstrong are salaried and deal in a service, and we'll begin things with Dina Merrill.
Do you deal in a profit-making service?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Is the kind of service that I would use?
Possibly.
Would I come to you for this service?
Sometimes.
Would you also come to me?
Yes.
Would you more often come to me than I would go to you?
I think so.
I would say this. I think, Dina, this would depend pretty much on circumstance. What we mean to say is here you could go in to initiate, for instance, the granting of the service, and subsequently they might come to you. Equally, they might come to you in the first place because of a phone call or something like that.
In other words, this service could be performed in my home.
Yes.
If I worked in an office, could the service also be performed in my office?
Yes.
Oh. Would this service improve my physical state in any way?
No.
Nope. That's one down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Are there any more at home like you two girls? May I ask if it won't improve the physical service of the person for whom you're performing it, does that mean that you do not come into physical contact with the person that you're performing the service for?
That's correct.
Is there any kind of animal life involved in what you do?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Is there any paperwork involved in what you do?
Yes.
Do you ever take shorthand?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Allen.
Is there any kind of testing involved?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Dina.
Do you have to have a license to do what you do?
Not always.
Not always. Now, I'm going to throw all the cards over because we're running out of time. Guess.
Of any kind.
Beg pardon?
Take inventory of any kind.
No. Anybody any ideas? Actually, the Mrs. Edna and Ethel Armstrong are interior decorators with W.J. Sloan. They're both graduates of Mary Washington College, have fine arts degrees. How long have you been with W.J. Sloan's in Washington?
A year, a little over a
year.
year.
That's fun. Do you both go out sometimes on the same
Not too
job?
much right now.
Not too much. You go separately.
Yes.
Huh? Well, fine. Thanks very much for coming together to see us. It was nice to have you on What's My Line. With the permission of the panel, since I have used up all of our time, I will say our good nights, having said again to Dina and to Steve how much fun it is to have you here with us. And Steve, we'll see you tomorrow night on I've Got a Secret, and we hope we'll see all of you next Sunday. Thanks for being with us tonight on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Totten. With Francis Gown from Bonwit Teller, this is Johnny Olson speaking.